Hey there, and thanks for checking out this video. This is a video done for my community of Amazon sellers here in Australia called the Aussie Online Entrepreneurs. There's over 400 of us now, all building our Amazon businesses at various stages from complete beginner through to tens, 50s, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month selling things on Amazon. If you'd like to find out more about that, you can check in the description below and you'll be able to find out something about that and possibly even come and join us too. But be sure that you also subscribe to this YouTube channel and like this video. And if you've got any questions at all about what you're about to see with Arnold, then post them in the comments and I'll do my best to get them answered for you. Hope you enjoyed this. Arnold did a great presentation all about setting up your business in Australia, ready to be selling things on Amazon and how to do that properly. And I know you'll get a lot out of this. So enjoy the show and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, good evening, everybody. I hope you are very, very well. Busy week this week. Q&A Monday night. Amazing session with Mr. Arnold Shields tonight. Fantastic. So here's the deal. Now that Amazon is launching here into Australia, that's going to create some very, very unique opportunities for us all to profit from Amazon by setting up a business here in Australia, ready to sell on Amazon. So tonight, what we're going to cover is the actual process for doing that. And I've got a very, very special guest who's joining me to teach you all about how to, as Kate Ingham has coined the term, get your ducks in a row. Now, when we go about choosing people to bring onto a webinar like this, it's very, very easy just to find somebody to come and talk about about actual business setup. What's actually very hard to do is find somebody that's walking the talk. So when I found out about Arnold and his accounting practice, he's the director, or one of the directors, should I say, of Dolman Bateman. That's Arnold right there. I was extremely interested to find out more about him because Arnold sells on Amazon. Arnold's already selling on Amazon in the US. I think from memory, he's got 2 products up and running and making sales and making money for himself. So he's got a unique insight into how Amazon actually works, which is fantastic. So we'll be joining us tonight, and let me just do a quick mic test to make sure that Arnold's around. Arnold, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you fine. Can you all hear me?
Yes, I think we can. Let's just check in, everybody. Can you guys hear Arnold just then?
Not too loud. Don't have to.
All good in the hood, mate. That's fantastic. Okay, so as I said, Arnold is in a unique position because he's actually selling on Amazon. So when it comes to understanding the nuances of an Amazon business, I've yet to meet somebody who's more qualified to talk about the accounting and tax side of an Amazon business here in Australia than Arnold. So he's the perfect person to teach you about what's actually required to do business here in Australia. He's also a member of my advanced inner circle, so he's got a whole new level of understanding about what actually makes Amazon businesses tick and perform really, really well too. Now, what I'm going to do, Arnold, is I'm going to make you the presenter so we can take a look at your screen, and you'll probably get a little notification saying, shall you share your screen now? And then as soon as you're ready, there you go. So folks, what I'm going to do is hand over to Arnold, and I'll be taking lots and lots of notes here too. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what Arnold's got to say. So over to you, Arnold.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Welcome. I'll try and go through this fairly quickly. Hopefully you'll be able to get it all so we can get into some questions later on. Okay, the most common question that we get is, what is the right structure for your Amazon business? And what we're going to do today is just explain the various options that are available to you. So first, about me, I've got a chartered accounting practice in Chatswood. A lot of the work, if you look on our website, you'll see it's about forensic accounting. So that's basically, I'm an expert witness in court-related matters. So I get called in to basically work out how much money should be paid or not. So we do a whole range of things, but we also get to see an enormous range of businesses, kind of pull them apart and put them back together and explain them to judges and lawyers and everyone else. That's one part of my business. And the other part is advising Amazon sellers. So we've got a bunch, probably 150 plus at the moment, of Amazon sellers from the top 1% to people just starting. And we sell on Amazon ourselves, as Neil said. And we started that last year because we started to get Amazon clients, and we were giving them some advice. We just realized that some things we just didn't know. So basically we said, well, let's launch a product so we can get the data from Seller Central and run some tests and just run some experiments how we thought it should work, and then properly advise our clients. And it really didn't matter how much we sold. I mean, I thought, okay, if I don't sell them, I can give them away to my clients in terms of our products. So that was last year. Now this year, it's almost a year and 1 month later, we've got 2 profitable, successful products. We're planning to launch 5 next year. I just paid for the 3rd product. And plus we're launching into UK and Canada, not because plan to make a whole bunch of money in those things, we never know, but really so we can go through the process of setting up in the UK and setting up in Canada. So any issues that you have with your Amazon business, we've dealt with them ourselves or helped our clients deal with them. So let's talk a bit about the business structure that you need for your Amazon business. So the first thing we need to look at is your personal profile. So when we talk to people, because everyone's different, and so are you married, are you single, de facto, getting divorced, do you have kids, what age are they? These matter because it opens up opportunities for efficient tax planning and asset protection. You may have other businesses and corporate structures you've already got in place already, and we might be able to go, oh, okay, you've got those in place. We can do different things with your structure. So someone who's already experienced in running a business, they've got multiple structures, we might align it somewhat differently to someone who's just starting for the first time with their first business. So the next thing we look at is your income. Now, your Amazon business is going to be making profits, but unlikely you're going to be able to realize those profits as free cash for a year or two. And that means, and what I mean by that is the cash flow that you make, the profits that you make, will have to be continued to reinvested back into the business as more inventory. We can deal with that another time. But what this means is you're going to be paying tax on your profits, but you don't have access to the cash yet to pay for it. So we want the tax to be as low as possible. Now, the company tax rate is 27.5%. And basically the individual tax rates are up to 18,000 is nil, up to 37,000 is 21%. And then up to 87,000, the marginal tax rate is 34%. So a company, once you're over 37,000, a company is going to be is going to mean that you're going to be paying less tax. And then we look at the next rate is at 180,000, so that's 39%, and anything over 180,000 goes to 47%. So having a company, you're almost saving 20%. But if you're earning over 37,000, you're going to be paying more tax than if you just had it in a company. And it's got a really important cash flow effect because you don't want to have that money just tied up paying tax when it could be doing other things for your business. So the other thing we look at is what assets do you have? Property, shares, etc. Basically, if you've got property, whether that's your own house or investment properties, you need to get a company. You don't want this business, which is a small part at this stage for a lot of you, being something that will, if it goes wrong, affect the rest of your other assets. So we want to kind of put moats around and high walls around all your real hard assets against potential liabilities. So one of the things we look at is risk. Now, running an Amazon business, it's unlikely you're going to go broke owing suppliers money because everything's paid for in advance. Inventory, or everything's deducted from your payments like Amazon costs, and you have very low fixed costs. So Amazon businesses that fail just tend to fade away due to no cash flow. So the real risk from an Amazon business is product liability. Your product causes an injury or damage to something, and they sue you as a supplier. Now, I do a lot of litigation work, and I see product claims for many different things. And I know, Neil, you were talking about it before in your Q&A yesterday. What happens is they will sue the first person they can get. So they'll sue Amazon. Amazon will say, go away. And what they will, if they manage to sue, say, your supplier, that's what happens is they join you. So if you've got a manufacturer, if you've got a product that causes an injury to you, and you bought it from say Woolworths, you go along to Woolworths and sue them, they will then join the manufacturers of that. Now, you are both depending on which way you look at it, whether you're the seller and the manufacturer, for all intents and purposes, but in some cases they may see Amazon as being the seller. But either way, you don't want them to be suing you as an individual and taking your house. I mean, even if you win, that's 3 to 5 years out of your life to resolve it, and legal fees fighting it, which basically, if you're in a fight, a legal battle, and you just assume that you're not going to get your legal fees back, even if you win. So you want them to sue a company, not you. Now, if someone sues your company for a product liability claim, you take that company off the liquidator and start again. Product liability insurance means the insurance company will take over the claim, and you can continue to run your business. The other risk you've got is far more common. Quite a few of our clients have had this, real ones, not fake ones, is patent, copyright, trademark disputes. But they tend to escalate, and they can be managed rather than going straight to litigation. So you get a cease and desist letter, another nasty letter from the lawyers before they start pushing up the rates, before they go to actual litigation. So we also look at the stage of your business. What stage are you up to? The product research stage, placing your first order, selling on Amazon, selling in lots of different marketplaces. And now the time to get a company is when you're about to place your first order. So up until that stage, you're not really conducting a business. Now the company setup process takes about 2 days, so it's really quick. And then you need to get the supplier invoices in the name of the company, the freight invoices in the name of the company, the bank accounts in the name of the company, the seller account in the name of the company, everything in the name of the company, so that there are no leakages from your corporate structure that a good lawyer could find their way around. So let's look at the different structures. Sole trader, basically business in your own name, Joe Citizen, trading as Citizen Cookware. Profits will be declared in your own personal tax return and taxed at a marginal rate. So if you're earning $87,000 from a job, the Amazon profits will be added to that and taxed at 39%. So any liabilities are, of course, in your name as well. So we say basically the only people who should be trading as sole traders on Amazon have limited money and no income and are renting. And it's basically, as soon as they've validated their products, they should be moving to a company. So partnerships, that's 2 or more people, individuals doing business together in their own names. You should never, ever be trading in a business as a partnership, ever, not even with your spouse. If you're going to go into business with someone, it needs to be in a company. So just basically forget about partnerships as a viable business structure. It's just something that shouldn't be applied. Okay, company, Australian Pty limited companies. I like companies. They're designed for business. They're recognised around the world. They're governed by the Corporations Act, which means they have a legal framework backing them. The company tax rate's 27, which is pretty low worldwide, and you have dividend imputation, which no other country has. So basically, dividend imputation means if your company declares a dividend to you, you get a credit for the tax that you've already paid on those profits. So basically, it's a bit like getting your group certificate and having the 27.5% of your tax already paid. So we can do lots with companies in terms of tax planning. You can pay the salary to your spouse who has no income to use up their tax-free threshold, for example. And companies form asset protection. Now, and basically, a shareholder of a company cannot be liable for the company's liabilities. So make that clear, a shareholder of a company cannot be liable for the company's liabilities, and a director is not liable unless the company trades whilst insolvent. Now, it's pretty hard for Amazon business to trade insolvently because the only person they're going to owe money to is probably you. So an Australian company is all you need to trade around the world in every single market. You don't need LLCs or UK companies. Now, I think the exception is India, where you may need an Indian director of a company. But we'll leave that one aside for the moment. Sorry about that. Okay, trusts. Many accountants recommend trusts for trading businesses because of some tax flexibility. I don't agree with them. I like trusts for holding assets, property, shares, cash, but they're not good for trading businesses. There's a couple of reasons for this. Trust law is really complicated. It's basically 600 years of common law, which is case law, and to get anyone to understand it, you need to get expensive barristers. Companies are governed by the Corporations Act, which is clearly defined. So a trust may be okay for an Australian-based business, but once you start dealing with international business, it gets complicated because each country's got a different definition of what a trust is. And some countries, like European countries, I believe, don't have them at all. And trusts are often associated with charities and tax evasion. And quite often, trying to explain your tax structure to a seller central service rep or the IRS or Majesty's Revenue and Customs becomes complicated. And the main reason I don't like Amazon business is for cash flow and complexity. Basically, trust profits have to be distributed each year and added back to the taxable income of the beneficiary, so that the distribution has to be lent back to the trust because the company needs the cash flow to keep expanding. And in the first year of your Amazon business, the business might make, say, 30K, and the next year it might make 100K, and the next year 300K. And you end up paying a much higher tax rate than 37%. And that extra tax puts a drain in your cash flow, which prevents your actual business from growing. So whilst the trust is there to help your business grow, the cash flow effect of it because of the additional tax is actually prevents you from getting to that point anyway. I don't think a trust is the best structure for an Amazon business. They have one benefit, however, which is you can get the capital gains tax exemption and rollover reliefs on the sale of the business. Now, probably interesting to explain here. When you're selling your Amazon business, a lot of people have that as a guide. I'm going to do this for 3 years and then I'm going to sell it. People will never buy the company itself. Unless, I know Neil had an example where he was buying the company. One of our, I think it was in the advanced course, but someone looking to buy your Amazon business is not going to buy a company, because with that, they're going to buy your liabilities as well. So what they're really looking at doing is buying the assets of the business, which is the stock, any trademarks you might have, and the buy box, effectively the access to your product listing pages. And that's basically the only assets, and that's what they're buying. So the other thing we do with some people is we have more complex structures where we'd have a trading company, and then the shares are owned by a trust, which then has beneficiaries. That gives you, it's something we put in place for people who have got quite a big structure in place, or they've got a lot of money to invest, and it gives some flexibility in terms of paying the dividends out of the company through the trust, and then basically to whoever they want. It's not something that we recommend for everyone because there is additional costs and complexities with it. Okay, I know Neil, you said we're going to do it with Australian companies, but it's probably worthwhile dealing with LLCs as well. Some people on Facebook groups, etc., see you need an LLC. Basically, if you're a US citizen, then yes, get an LLC. But if you're not a US citizen, no. There's no advantage to an LLC and many disadvantages. They just changed the rules in relation to LLCs. Basically, they were non-reporting at all for everybody. They're not. They're a pass-through entity, but now they've changed the rules. Part of the money laundering investigations that are happening in the US, and basically you've now got to lodge a form with the IRS. It's not a tax return, but the information's exactly the same, and the penalties are massive. $10,000 for late lodgement, and it's if you don't lodge this form by 1 day, it's $10,000 US, and then if you don't lodge it after 90 days, it's $10,000 for every 30 days after that. So it's really expensive. So if you've got an LLC, then you have to lodge tax returns in the US and Australia at different year ends and in different countries using different accountants. And tax-wise, you're going to be taxed in Australia in your personal name at your marginal rate. So it's not something you need to do. So your structure is unique to you. So if you hear people saying this is what you need to do, we kind of have a look at each people, everyone's situation slightly differently, and what they're trying to do with their business and what they're trying to do with what they're looking forward and what experience they've got. So while we say a company is relevant for most people, we have a chat to them first to make sure it is actually what we're looking for there. We're also looking for administrative simplicity. You don't want to set up something that is complete and utter nightmare, causing you basically like this, go, what am I doing with all these companies and trusts and things like that? We want to keep it really simple. We want to quarantine the risk and protect your assets. So asset protection, tax efficiency, commercially viable, commerciality of it, having something there that's what I talked about, using the trusts and the people in the UK not extending trusts properly, and administrative simplicity. I wanted to do with some of the international tax issues. We want to keep this simple. So you're going to be taxed in Australia for the profits that you make Australia-wide. You're going to be taxed in Australia on your profits. And it doesn't matter whether you've got that money in a US dollar account or PayPal, whatever it else happens to be, it's all taxed in Australia as you're the resident. It's not taxed in the US at all, because we'll deal with that in a sec. One of the things you don't want to be doing is looking at setting up Hong Kong companies or Singapore companies, etc., because the tax rate is lower. Because we don't have double taxation agreements with some of these countries because they are low tax areas, then you end up paying more tax on it anyway. As soon as you try and get that. The trouble is with a lot of these entities, you put your money into Hong Kong, etc. As soon as you want to spend that money, you pay more tax. You know, it's a problem is getting it back, saying, well, I want to do something with this money. If you're making $10 million a year, yeah, then we'll look at some international tax issues. So we've got double taxation agreements with all the countries with Amazon marketplaces, which means unless you have a permanent establishment in those countries, you'll not be subject to income tax in those countries. So a permanent establishment is an office, a warehouse, a factory, and employees. Now, an Amazon business does not have a permanent establishment. As a warehouse for holding inventory is classed as not being a permanent establishment. So you've got no US tax, federal tax issues. Okay, one last thing, two last things. One, I just wanted to deal with a quick checklist for you. And it's really just things you need to do to, you know, when to get the company. So the first thing you want to do is if you haven't got a product, you need to go and find a product, do the research, get samples. That takes a long time. And then you're just about ready to set up your own business, to set up the company when you're just before you're about to make your first order. Now, the things I've put here are fairly quick. We can get these done really quickly. So the first thing you want to do is get as a company, we get the ABN, we get ACN tax file number, we register you for GST on an annual basis. Now, the GST issue is tricky for most people. Well, it depends on trading in Australia or not, but I'll deal with some. But let's say you're an overseas seller. Amazon are going to, if you're not registered for GST and you don't supply them with an ABN number, that Amazon will deduct an additional 10% being the GST on your Amazon commissions, which is the 15% commission. But if you do provide them with an ABN number, then they will not deduct the 10%. So it's kind of a reverse way of thinking about it. So basically it's an extra 1.5% of your sales if you're not registered for GST. Now, we register GST annually so that you don't have to worry about it, because most Amazon businesses have got very few Australian-based expenses that they're going to be paying tax on. So it's very few. It's, you know, internet, maybe some photography, telephone, accounting fees, and that's maybe a new computer, and that's about it in terms of the things that have got subject to DST them, because all your overseas based sales are what's called excluded sales, and they're not subject to GST. So you've got very little GST. So at the end of the year, you get a small refund. So once you've got the company set up, we can do that in about 2 days. We then give your bank account set up back. You go along to your bank. It's easier because you're being identified, you know, and you go, I want to set up an Aussie dollar account with a debit card in the name of the company, a US dollar bank account, and you can get those from, you know, most of the other countries, most of the big four pretty easily, and then you'll get a World First or OFX account. I'm unsure which one Neil recommends. I don't mind either. And then you can go set up Seller Central with your proper legal identity, W8 BIN form. You set up your products, FBA shipment advice, and then you pay for the order. So items 1, 2, and 3 there, I suppose, that can all be done in 2 days, 3 days. It's a really quick setup process. The bank will set you up a bank account really quickly. So it's not something you have to do right away, but it's something that you can attack fairly quickly before you're just about to pay your order. Okay, that's about it for the for my prepared section. So why don't we open it up for some questions?
Arnold, I would just like to say that was absolutely fantastic, mate. Very, very clear. And I know there's a lot of people who've been posting comments saying this is really great. So a huge thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to share this knowledge with us, mate. We really appreciate that.
It's a pleasure.
What you've neglected to do, and what I think would be really, really useful, is to let people know about a couple of the videos and cost breakdowns and things like that you've got in place as well, Arnold. So
I would love to. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think that would be really
have
useful.
a look there.
So guys, like
Okay,
I got onto Arnold's mailing list, and he is prolific with really high quality information. So I encourage you to get onto their mailing list and go and check out this amazing resources that they put together for tax as it's in regards to Australia. So definitely worth doing. Arnold, over to you.
So the first thing, the easiest way to get on my mailing list is sign up for one of our cash flow spreadsheets. We've got two of them. One is under lawyers selling on Amazon, and there's a link there. Also go to our blogs. Now, a really good one, the latest one I've got is a 4-year Amazon cash flow spreadsheet. So it's under our blog. If you click there, what this does is, I'll give you an example. If I can call it up, wait a sec. This is a really powerful tool. It enables you to really forecast whether you're going to be in business in a couple of years' time because you're going to, or whether you're going to run out of cash. I've got a lot of Amazon clients, and while some are doing very well, some are having problems. And what we see, it's the same reason why all businesses fail. The number one reason is cash flow. And so this spreadsheet enables you to, sorry, I'm just calling it up here. It enables you to, it's always interesting when they call up any of these things and they don't work. Okay, there's a video on how to explain it, but basically, if we drop this here, I hope everyone can see it.
Yeah, we can see that. It
enables you to put in your prices, your assumptions, and you can change a whole bunch of things and just say, okay, if I'm going to sell at $18, will I still have let's drop it down to it's a negative $17, you're starting to run out of cash. And you can put in what type of salary you're taking out. It's a really powerful tool. You can adjust your prices, inventory assumptions, advertising assumptions. So if you go to here under the blog, you can just enter your name and email address and I'll email it to you. It's a really powerful tool. Also under here, we've got a whole bunch of different articles on Amazon stuff.
And I will say that 4-year cash flow spreadsheet that Arnold and his team have put together is absolutely fantastic. And indeed, we've just used that as our base template for a business plan where we're launching a business into America, which is on the back of that, we're looking to raise $250,000. And that's formed the basis of that business plan for that capital raising to launch on this Amazon business into the States. So it's really, really useful, guys. I wholeheartedly recommend you get that. It'll open your eyes for your Amazon business. All right, so we do have some great questions in here for you as well, Arnold. So let's see if we can cover some of those off. All right, yep. I'm going to start with the top. So Win has asked, great presentation, Arnold. Do I need a different company and ABN for selling on Amazon, for selling in different countries?
No. One company all over the world. Makes it much simpler.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I hope that answered that for you, Win. So this one's from Sue. Sue says, thanks for very valuable insights, Arnold. My question is, how does US tax work if you have stock in Amazon FBA, by physically having stock living in the US, does this not mean you have a nexus in the US?
Okay, nexus is a term that's dealt with sales tax rather than federal tax. So let's deal with the federal tax issues. Because you don't have a permanent establishment, then you don't have, under the double taxation agreements, you're not liable for tax in the US. So you're not liable for federal taxes in the US because you are not conducting, you don't have a permanent establishment in the US. So there's no, if you've got an Australian company, then you're not liable for tax in the US, federal tax. Sales tax, that's another issue.
Sales tax is a whole other issue, absolutely. Thank you for that, Arnold. One here for me. Neil, why did you buy the shares in the company in the UK? Well, as Arnold very rightly says, usually it's a terrible idea to buy the shares in a business because what you end up buying is the liabilities of that entity. And so normally you would just buy the assets of the business, and that way you get all the good stuff without any of the bad stuff, as Arnold says. My situation was unique in that we needed an entity in the UK as part and parcel of my overall tax planning strategy, and I knew the guys who were selling the business and had a good understanding of what was happening, and so it made sense for us to kind of get the whole thing that we required: lock, stock and barrel, bank accounts, business setup, everything all in one kind of chunk, so to speak. So that's why we did it in that particular instance. But as Arnold says, usually that's a terrible idea, and you're much better off just buying the assets.
Okay, there's another issue to that, is that in the UK, they've really tightened up the rules on transferring seller central accounts between entities, and basically they won't let you can't transfer the entities. Whereas in the US, if you want to sell your business and transfer your seller central account to someone, really easy, and you can get all their seller central feedback, all that good ratings onto your account. In the UK, they don't let you do that because of some liability issues associated with VAT that they'll lump Amazon with. So Amazon basically say you cannot transfer seller central accounts. Even if you're trying to transfer a personal sole trader seller central account to your company, and just saying you're doing a restructure, even that's hard to do and takes a long time. So there's other reasons for doing it.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. And so I would suspect then, Arnold, that your overall strategy of putting everything into the company name therefore makes the transferring of a business so much easier because all that's already in Seller Central within the company. So when it comes to the transference, if you're taking over the assets of the company, you can take over all those things very easily.
Yes. It's really just, when you're selling the entity, there's the due diligence part of it is different for everyone and depends on what stage you're at. But having it all in one entity, all the numbers add up, is a real thing to reducing risk for anyone buying it.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Okay, Jenny says, great webinar. Fantastic. Thank you. What is a W8BENE form?
That is basically a form that says to the US that you lodge when you're setting up your Seller Central account, that basically says who you are and where you come from and what type of entity are you. It's really quite simple. Amazon have got a cut down version, and I've been hearing some new people starting to set up Seller Central accounts, and they're asking for a bit more details these days, but it's all quite simple. They basically just say who you are, so you put the company, corporation, etc., and who are the shareholders. They're asking for a bit more information in Seller Central now. Really simple, takes 2 minutes.
Fantastic, thank you, Arnold. So Greg has asked this question. Arnold, what happens to the GST for Australian Amazon products? I'm assuming that's products that are going to be sold on Amazon in Australia, Greg, Arnold.
Okay. So let's say you're going to make more than 70 grand a year. We'll do it on that basis. So if you're selling a product for $20, well, let's say $22, that's your sale price, then you're going to have to give $2 to the government for the GST on that, then 10% on the GST. However, when you bring in your stock from China, you're going to be paying, let's say it's $10 a unit. Customs will add 5% on that, and then they'll also add another 10% for GST. So it's 5% for import duties and 10% for GST. So you get basically you'll pay $1, for example, and you only have to pay the difference to the government. So you collected $2, you paid $1, you pay the $1 to the tax office.
Fantastic, thank you for that. Sorry if I cut you off there, Arnold. Was there more you wanted to add to that?
No, that's fine.
Okay, cool. Leanne Pollard says, if I'm not going to sell on Amazon in the US and I only intend to sell on Amazon here in Australia, do I need to have the US dollar bank account?
Well, it's probably not. It's really, with our business, we don't keep, and we just sell in the US. So we just keep all of it in US dollars. You probably don't need a US dollar bank account. You just got to remember, you just got to pay China. So that's the trick.
Yeah. So do you want to elaborate a little bit on that as far as paying China?
You will be paying retail. China will accept US dollars, basically. So you got some currency issues. You got a currency fluctuation risk in your business. So I don't think you need a US dollar account, is basically what I'm saying.
Nikki, I think that answers your question as well. Let me know if you don't think it does, but I think that answers your question as well. Bit of a longer one for you here from Sarah for you, Arnold. Sarah says, we already have a family trust which we operate our main non-Amazon business through. Our business is essentially my husband as a sole practitioner. We have a PTY Ltd company under this family trust, which is our main income at the moment. Is it okay to also have our Amazon business under this same company name, or is that too much of a risk?
No, you don't want to be doing that unless they're kind of the same businesses. You think about it this way: you're putting like walls up around all these different assets, and you want to keep those walls around. So you don't want one business going bad, infecting all your other assets. So we keep them nice and siloed.
So that's all part and parcel of that overall asset protection strategy you were referring to, right, Arnold?
Yes, everyone's different on that. So for that, there could be a number of different ways we could structure it.
Okay. Athena says, hey Athena, I have set up my Amazon account under my personal account since a year ago. Is this an issue now to change it over?
No, it's really easy. It takes about 2 minutes.
And that's all done within Seller Central?
So that's within the US.
Yeah.
UK is a different story.
What about, so this is from Neil Anderson. What if Neil is a non-resident of Australia? How does that affect this particular outcomes here, Arnold?
Oh, that's just ugly. That's
Yes.
No, it's not ugly. There's just so many other things you have to start thinking about.
Yeah.
That's just international tax issues, because it just becomes complicated. That's something I couldn't comment on over this podcast.
Yeah, that's cool. Thank you for that.
No.
Just Neil, so you know, if you want to email me, so I am I've got a UK passport, I'm an Australian resident, and I am domiciled in Portugal. So I can probably at least give you a couple of different pointers of who to chat to about that. Lots of questions here about cost of setting all this up for people. Arnold, is there a way that we can kind of do something for folks where they can get to have a chat with you about all that?
Yes, a couple of things. So if we put in, can I give you a link?
Yes.
Okay. I have an online, if I learn to type. Okay. I've got an online calendar there. The easiest way is to book a time. I'll have a chat to you about where you are, basically all the things we've just discussed, and any questions you've got about things you need to do, and when you need to do it, and just book a time of doing that. Just so you know, we charge $16.50 for a new company. So that includes the ABN, the tax file number, GST registration. We will also show you how to fill out the W8BEN form, the tax issues there. Also, we can give you instructions on how to get an EIN number if you need it, or any of those things. We've been through the whole process many times.
Fantastic. And can we do a bit of a freebie for that initial chat with you?
Oh, the initial chat is free, so
Brilliant.
More than
That's
happy
great.
to talk to you. I'd rather you talk to me than went away and did something stupid.
Yeah, it's much better to get it set up properly from the get-go. It's much more difficult to get out of these things than it is to get into these things.
Oh, absolutely.
So link hasn't come through. So do you want to type it into the Skype chat for me, Arnold?
Well, I did.
I'll give that to everybody, buddy.
Oh, okay. It's meetme.so/Arnold Shields. So when do I put it in up here?
Yeah. meetme.so.arnold. So if you guys can all see that, if you make a note of that, you'll be able to book that in and have a totally free chat.
Or you can just send me an email at ashields@dolmanbateman.com.au, or you can just go to our website and there's a contact form there.
And I will tell you, $16.50 for a complete company setup and everything done, all done and dusted, is extremely reasonable. Yep. I have personally paid a lot more than that to get to get less than that done. So that's actually a very, very reasonable price. All right, so let's continue on, because we've got a couple more things in here. Got a couple of questions about how to get in contact with you. Simran. Can I start selling as a sole trader and later on start a company if I start making profits?
Yes, you can. However, you've got risks. And it's whether those, if you've got a house or you've got an investment property or decent assets or a good job, then no. It's not worth the risk. You kind of you got to patch this together. I mean, we do something on how much tax you need to generate. I mean, I'll just show you here. In this example here, we'll just bump this up. This is just to give you an idea of what type of things you need to do. But we've got a balance sheet in here. So if you want a business that's got sales of $1 million, I don't know whether everyone can see that. Make it a bit bigger. So sales of $1 million, profit of $200,000 a year. You're going to need $135,000 in inventory. So it's going to take you a while to build that up. If you've just got a little bit of money, then yeah, you might try and make some savings there, but you've really got to, if you've got any assets or a good job, litigation is something you don't want to be involved in. I've spent the last 2 days dealing with litigation issues. They're horrible.
And you actually work with a lot of lawyers, don't you, as well? Like that's one of the things that, yeah. Okay. Just trying to sort out all the questions for you, mate. Naomi says, can I get a company with my 11-year-old grandson as one of the shareholders of that company?
Oh, no. They end up being a minor and it's taxed horribly.
Yeah.
There's other ways you could do it. You could set up a trust that owns the shares in the company, and the beneficiaries of the trust is all your kids and grandkids. Is a better way to do it. You wouldn't give a minor shares in a company, but a better way would be as a trust. Trust owning the shares in the company.
Which brings us very, very neatly to Sandra's question. Sandra says, I have a company over my discretionary trust. Now, I'm going to assume that means that company is the trustee of the trust, Arnold.
Yep.
Is it okay to have my business in this trust? I have nothing else in this trust.
Okay. If you haven't started yet, I'm recommending to people that they kind of rejig that. Say, okay, let's make the company the trading entity, make the trust own the shares in the company, and change the trustee of the trust from an company to an individual. And you've just changed it to, let me see if I can get that. I'm just trying to find the right. Yeah. And you basically change it to this type of structure, but without a corporate trustee for the trust, of which there's no need in that instance.
Thank you for that. Could you, it's not a question, but it's just something that I've been asked a few times before, which I think would be useful for people to hear. Trading names of your PTY Ltd company, can you explain what they are and how many you can have?
Okay. Yep. Okay. Now, that's a good question. So what you've got is you've got a company. Now, we're going to call this company, okay, I'll grab a pen, an Artline pen. So we've got this company called Artline Pty Limited, and that's going to be your company name. And under that, you could have a number of different trading names, effectively, which could be, what do they call them? Whiteboard pens. That's one of your businesses, for example. And the other one is, permanent markers as your other business name. What that means is, with a trading name, it means that you are whiteboard markers or whiteboard pens, Artline Pty Limited, trading as permanent markers, for example. And what it means is, when you put it on invoices, etc., you can show your, you don't have to show your full company name, but because it's registered, it comes back to things. So if you wanted to see that, it's ASIC, which one we got? ASIC search, ASIC business name. What do we call? Okay, if you go to ASIC business names, you can search for a business name there. So basically, a trading name just means that you don't have to put the Pty Limited on it. But you could have, most people make this really complicated. It doesn't need to be. You don't need to have all your separate brands as separate trading names. You can do, so no one else takes them. I usually say if you can get the .com, you've got a pretty good chance that no one else has got that name. Does that answer your question?
It really does. Thank you for that. And you've made that very, very simple to understand. Thank you for that. Okay, I'm going to do 2 more questions that are kind of similar, so I'm going to group those together. Arnold, if you set up the company on our behalf, could we use your address as the registered business address, or do we have to find other alternatives if we want to use rather than using our personal home address?
Yep. Okay. There is 2 things. Yes, you can use it for a registered business office, and that means that all the official company documentation comes to us, and then we pass it on to you. It also means that if someone wants to put a summons on you or anything else, subpoenas, nasty letters, they send to the registered business office. They also ask for a principal place of residence, a principal business, and that's not our office. That would be your home, etc. There is some exceptions to that. We had someone who wanted to keep their address secret for other reasons, and you can apply to ASIC to not have that information published. So we were the registered office for her business, but everything else didn't show up on ASIC as to where she lived, etc.
That's great. Thank you for that. And the last one. So Simran, so Ling, you may have missed, your question has been answered. You may have missed the first part, but that was in there, so I'll give you that as a recording. Simran says, relating to my previous question, I've just registered a business name a few days ago to sell on Amazon in Australia. Can I transfer this to a company name?
Yes, easily.
Yeah. I think, unless I'm mistaken, folks, that is all. We've taken up a lot of your time, Arnold, and I really do appreciate you hanging around and helping us with the questions. For those of you that are members of the Advanced Inner Circle, Arnold's going to be doing more advanced stuff on Thursday night, talking about setting up in the UK. Is that right, Arnold?
Yep, UK, Europe. We might do some cash flow stuff as well.
Fantastic. So those of you that are in the inner circle, Arnold's going to be doing a little bit more advanced stuff for us, which is going to be fantastic. So looking forward to that. But for everybody else, this has been a wonderful, wonderful webinar. And thanks so much for joining us tonight, Arnold, and for sharing your wisdom and knowledge, and also for making it so easy for us to get in touch with you. And do you want to bring that back up again so we can kind of close out on that? So people can see how to contact you.
The easiest way, so we can go to contact us on my website and just send me a message. You can go to meetme.so/Arnold Shields. Alternatively, just get on my mailing list, go to the blog, and for your Amazon cash flow spreadsheet, and just put in your name and address.
That is a must. Even
lots of good stuff comes from that.
He's got a great mailing list. I mean, it's not like me where you get an email a day. It's much better than that.
No, I don't have that much time. No.
It's Arnold giving out really solid business advice for Amazon businesses. It's well worth being on that list. So I look forward to getting those emails when they arrive, because I know they're going to be full of really valuable business insights. So make sure you do that for sure. All right, folks, a huge thank you. And again, Arnold, a massive thanks for joining us tonight, mate. We really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule for joining us and for sharing this information with us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night, and we'll speak to you soon. Take care, guys. Good night. Hey, Neil here. Just before you go away, that was a question that I got asked on my regular Monday night Q&A session, which I have with the members of the Aussie online entrepreneurs. So if you're interested in joining us as an Aussie online entrepreneurs, then you can click on the link below to find out a lot more about that. And also, as a special thank you for watching this video, I've got a great book that I want to give you for free. It's a current bestseller on Amazon, and it teaches you everything that you would need to know about starting a business here in Australia on Amazon. So you can see that just up there. So if you'd like to get a copy of that for free, then again, just click on the link below and you'll get a copy of that. You'll get taken to a page where you can get a copy of that for absolutely free. Hope you enjoyed that little snippet from one of my Aussie online entrepreneur Q&A sessions, and make sure that you subscribe to my channel and also like this video. And if you've got a question that you would like answering, then post it in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer it, whether on one of these videos for you or directly in the comments directly below. All right, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time on the next of the Aussie Online Entrepreneurs Amazon FBA Australia videos. See you soon.